You are on the rant couch where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for Ben Zed, who says, I recently started listening to old episodes of the PCP, and one of the earlier episodes was supposed to be about sleep. The thing was, aside from you saying something like modern science still can't explain why we sleep, there was barely any actual discussion on the subject. So yeah, in short, rant about sleep. Specifically, I have no idea where you had gotten the idea that we may be able to conquer it. There are certain restorative processes that seem to only occur while people sleep. So did you mean science has no explanation for why we sleep need to be asleep for these bodily functions to occur? Sorry, I couldn't be more concise with this request. What I was saying was that I had literally read about like pills that can make you not need to sleep that were being developed. I don't know if they're real. I don't know if that's still a thing that's happening, but there was scientific development in the field of not needing sleep. And there are some people who do not need sleep or who need very little of it. And we don't really understand what makes them different. But yes, I just recently read a big ass National Geographic article about sleep and the mysteries therein, all the stuff that happens during the sleep cycle. And yeah, it definitely seems like sleep is massively important. I mean, obviously, we all know if you don't sleep, you die. What we also know is that if you don't sleep, you fucking go crazy. And the reason for that seems to be that your brain needs that time to reorganize all the data that it's collected and sort of, put it into context with all the other data that it has. It's basically like running a system check. It's like a file organization system for your brain. So, which is really interesting and kind of cool when you think about it. And it definitely explains how dreams work, which is basically, I'm somebody who tends to dream a lot more when I've just recently learned something or had like an exciting experience, and that experience will almost certainly come up in my dreams. So it's obvious that it's like this new chunk of info is being sort of input into the system, and it's running checks on all kinds of other things, being compared to other things, and creating a full grasp of what I've witnessed. There's also science saying that people make better decisions after sleep, that like your brain takes that time to consider things more thoroughly, again, to check it against backwards data. It's kind of like when you're in the moment. Think about like sensory deprivation, right? Like when you close your eyes, you hear better and things like that. It's like your brain can only process so much shit at once. So I think that by shutting down as much as possible, it means that all the background processes have more room to breathe. It's kind of like if I'm using my computer and I'm rendering a video in Sony Vegas, everything else on the computer is going to be not necessarily that it's going to be slower. Like I can still use the internet at the same speed as regular because it's not something that takes that much energy. But let's compare that to sight and sound, right? Like I can see and hear at the same time, even though taking in visual data is massive. There's so much to take in, and your brain like kind of glosses over most of it, especially anything familiar, anything that's regularly there. It ignores to an extent where people have said that when you're driving down a road that you've driven down many times before, you literally are not even seeing a lot of it most of the time. Like your brain is just auto filling in the details from what it's seen before, which is fucking crazy. But so if you're seeing and hearing at the same time, you could compare it to like rendering a video and playing an audio file at the same time on your computer, right? Well, when the video's rendering and the audio is playing, you probably are not going to try to run system cleaner at the same time. Like if you keep trying to run too much shit, you can't get all of it done. So, when you're not rendering all that extra data, then the processes have time to clean through themselves. So I appreciate the necessity of sleep for doing that. And I've definitely seen what happens when you don't sleep for too long. I've gone manic from a lack of sleep, from intaking too much new information and then running with it as I see it in the moment before letting it be run through all that extra shit. It's like after I got sleep, then it made, like, whatever I had learned made way more sense and seemed way less crazy and fit into my existing understanding of the world a lot better, So it's like, I definitely try to get my full night's sleep, and I'm somebody who sleeps a lot, I used to really be adamantly anti-sleep. Like, I wanted it gone. I used to try to do like alternative sleep methods and stuff like that, and I envy people who can get away with it. I envy people who don't have to sleep as much for whatever reason. But I suspect that there are a lot of reasons. Like, I suspect there's more to it than meets the eye. Maybe I need so much sleep because I intake so much information every day. You know, I'm somebody who spends all my time learning new things, being on the internet, just constantly flooding myself with thoughts and info. Maybe if I don't sleep, then it becomes too much, you know? I don't know. I don't know what it is that it causes me to need so much sleep, but I think I do. And if they do eventually find a way to make all that processing adjustment, you know, be done through other means, I'll be excited for it. But it seems like there's too little understanding of the exact mechanism of how sleep does that. Like, we know that it does it, but not really how it does it, for us to be able to, you know, get rid of it entirely.